Club of Park Cities, if you will all rise and greet your fellow members.
Good news, Eric. Moving along. Moving along.
Okay, if you will make your way back to your table. All right, if you'll return to your table, please. All right. Rotarians having fun. Please go back to your tables. And Teresa, if you could make your way up to give the invocation. So you're doing the invocation, the pledge, and the national anthem.
I know sometimes people write their prayers down, but I always feel awkward when I do that. So I just going to pray from my heart. I'd like to say, hi, God. We're all here. Thank you so much for bringing us together. It's such a pleasure to be here, all of us, to think about what's going on in our community and how beautiful things can really be all the time if we just know that that's what you want for us. I hope that we can share today some beautiful things and learn some things about what we need to know. From the bottom of my heart, I hope everyone here feels blessed today and enjoys their lunch. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All around.
All right, thank you, Teresa. Do we have anyone who would like to share some good news or request for Happy Bucks?
Yeah, all right.
I am happy because I was able to take a quick business trip last week, and I was really nervous about it, but I called Teresa, and she stepped up and filled in for me last week to run the slides and everything, so thank you so much.
I'm happy to announce our 113-year-old bank, Vista Bank, signed a merger agreement early this week with NBH out of Denver, Colorado. So it is a new beginning for Vista Bank. We're happy. The good news is they'll be retaining the Vista Bank name, so they have like 100 branches that will take on the Vista Bank name. And the best news of all is that after 40 years on the board, I will be without a job.
Anyone else? All right, thank you. If you joined Rotary in the last year, could you please stand to be recognized? We like to recognize our new members. She's a returning Rotarian. All right, but we love our new Rotarians. Rotary needs membership. The introduction of guests. We have some guests in the room. If you could please stand.
I am delighted to introduce another fellow patent attorney, David Wygand, who is here for the first time today.
I'm happy to introduce you to Benedict Voigt. He was very quick to tell me this is the best Rotary Club he's ever been to and best meeting he's ever attended. And then he told me it's my first time. But what he did tell me, he's the CFO and COO of a company called QualiA, which is a startup company tied with the University of Texas, Dallas, in the area of medical devices for hearing impairment. I'm really pleased to share with us, he's third generation University of Michigan graduate. His grandfather, who served in the World War before he got his doctorate degree in law at University of Michigan, he was a Rotarian at the Coldwater, Michigan Club for over 40 years. That's my wife. Graduated from high school, I mentioned last week. What connection. Welcome, Benedict. He's considering joining.
Hi, this is Joanne Ryan. She, for 20 plus past years, has been a big advocate and advocist in the disability community, in addition to being a dear friend of Sarah and mine.
Hello, everyone. This fine gentleman is Mr. Harry Grant. He is with Maverick Financial, and they specialize in LPL finances. I'm not sure what that means because I'm not a finance girl. No, Harry, if you want to.
We're LPL affiliates, so we specialize in business financial planning and retirement plans.
Thank you, Harry.
Hi, everyone. I've got a good friend, Christy Houghton, that's with us today. She's with Higginbotham. Great person. You need to come get to know her. And I'm happy to have my son, Max, back with us today. He's learning the ropes on the AV stuff to help me out every once in a while. So.
That's good.
So I brought a lawyer with me today. I think there's some more lawyers here in the group, but I just thought I would like to introduce you to my friend and fellow pickleball player. She is a director of a municipal bank, and this is Kendra Carlock.
Well, thank you for joining us. We love guests. You're free to attend anytime. Marketplace Advertiser, Mark NEACE.
Hey, just a little quick housekeeping before I announce today's Marketplace Advertiser. Those of you who are advertisers in the past year, you should have all gotten an invoice by now. And there's a few that have not paid at this point, I think. So if you have received an invoice, please go ahead and take care of that. Big thanks to Jim Weichel this morning. He's going to be our next advertiser. So we have spots available. So if you're interested, please come see me, and I can give you all the details about that. Okay. So today's marketplace advertiser is Pat Martin with People Newspapers. People Newspapers is all about community. They have been serving the Park Cities with Park Cities people since 1981. In addition to Park Cities people, they publish Preston Hollow people, and I forgot to put the slide up there, sorry. Both award-winning newspapers. They are committed to producing excellent community newspapers and digital offerings to serve these neighborhoods. In an environment where news organizations are shrinking or closing, local journalism is more important than ever. Though they through the trust they have built with their valued advertising clients, they've been able to sustain the excellent coverage for their readers. Recently, they won 15 awards from the National Newspapers Association. Their lineup of weekly e-newsletters includes one specific to each market, Park Cities and Preston Hollow, Eat, Play, Give, focusing on lifestyle and charitable events, and newly launched Sports Spotlight, covering high school and other sports news and features. People's Newspapers' demographics, penetration, and readership are unmatched in Dallas, with a total circulation of 45,000. As an advertiser, your message is reaching the right audience in substantial numbers. According to their latest audit, 69% of readers make buying decisions from the advertisement seen in People Newspapers. So align your brand with an award-winning, trusted, and respectable media brand. And please join me again in thanking Pat Martin and People Newspapers. She does so much more for the club than just as a marketplace advertiser, so we appreciate their support.
Thank you, Pat. Now we'll have our raffle drawing. Herb, if you could ask Jeff to draw a ticket. And for our guests, we draw one ticket every week, and then the winner of who has the winning number gets the opportunity to come up and choose from a deck, one deck of cards. They're looking for one of them. So we see if they draw it. If they draw the right card, they win the ace of spades. So the number is 4. So much for the transition on my glasses. 4804. 4804. Does anyone have that one? Check out your tickets. I'm going to trust you on that because I'm not going to be able to read it. All right.
There's a lot of cards.
There are a few.
Richard.
All right, well, he gets to keep that card, and we try again next week. There's one card less in the deck. All right, and we've got a couple announcements to make. Mark Kasher, and then Holly, you're on deck.
Thank you, President Sarah. So I am here to talk about our own club's foundation, the Rotary Club of Park Cities Foundation. It's all the funds that we raise through birthday donations, and the raffle is managed by Communities Foundation of Texas. And we make grants to local area nonprofits that align with our strategic priorities, which are hunger, health and wellness, and leadership. So our foundation is just over $2.1 million now. And CFT every year calculates how much we have to grant out to the community. This year we have $92,000 to grant out to the community. And at our last meeting, we agreed on $33,500 in grants. Some of those grants go to our own internal projects. Some of them go to external projects. So you're going to hear about Holly here. $2,000 went to our Austin Street Foot Care for the Homeless Clinic. $5,000 went to Kathleen Claveter and the awesome Ronald McDonald House work that she does. Thank you, Kathleen. Also, we made a $5,000 donation to the TEGNA, Texas Flood Relief Fund, that's benefiting flood relief for Central Texas, so we're excited to do that. You're going to hear more about an international project that we're working on in the Philippines. that is providing 3D printers into high schools so the high school students there can learn how to do things. So be on the lookout for that. So we just wanted everybody to know where all the dollars that you donate go and all the great things that Rotary does in the community. So keep those donations coming, and we will keep donating to great nonprofits for the great things that Rotary believes in.
Yes, we need to be thankful for our foundation because we're going to have an amazing foot care clinic for the homeless next Saturday at the Austin Street Center. And we already have all the places full with volunteers. So thank you for signing up early. Appreciate that. We have 25 Rotarians coming down, but the rest of you, we need you here next Friday for our lunch meeting because we're going to pack foot care packets for the homeless during our meeting next Friday. So you can all participate without having to go anywhere but your normal Rotary meetings. So love to have you come help. And when you come next Friday, also please bring some of the miscellaneous little items, small dollar items that they need at the Austin Street Shelter. And those include shower shoes, over-the-counter cold medicines and non-drowsy allergy medicines, sandwich bags, laundry detergent, travel-sized toiletries, deodorant, toothpaste, body wash, lotion, razors, bars of soap, and Tylenol. And they said they prefer little packets of Tylenol if you can find them. Otherwise, they'll take what they can get. Travel-sized Tylenols are probably their favorite to get. So that's what they would like. We're going to do extra for them this year with this collection because, you know, obviously the need is great, and these are things they need ongoing all the time. Their foot care packet, they'll get, you know, nail clippers and a new pair of socks and a file and antibiotic ointment and lotion, and then some health care instructions for their feet. They will get a diabetes check by our nursing students, which, by the way, we also, first time ever, I have 25 nurses and nursing students signed up. So it's really been God sent this year. We're fully staffed. If you still want to come down, we'd love to have you. Just show up between 9 and 9:30 Saturday morning at the Austin Street Center, and we'll put you to work. If anything, just greet the homeless coming to partake and get their new shoes and their foot spa. It's really a rewarding event. Whatever religion you are, I mean, there's a humbling biblical feel to washing the feet of the homeless, taking care of them and giving them a little extra care. And we just hope that every time they tie those shoelaces, they think that someone cares. And that's kind of our goal and our hope that their main mode of transportation is well cared for after our event on Saturday. Thank you.
And just to recap, next Friday's meeting, it will come in, we'll sit like we normally do, eat, have the Rotary, announcements and things at the beginning. Then the last half will have packets at every table and kind of just assemble things as they go around. And there will be someone from Austin Street here to actually just informally talk about Austin Street Center as we're doing that. Okay, so, and remember, we have an 85% club participation goal. We're currently at 63%. We always start out the year strong because of the 4th of July parade, but we're working towards 85%. So attending next Friday and Saturday can help us get to that goal. And then in October, we have 2 service opportunities, Dentistry with a Heart, which is October the 18th, and October the 25th, which is the North Texas Food Bank Packing Day. We have some socials. Tomorrow, actually, we are going to be at the Meadows Museum to see the touring exhibit of Laura Wilson's artwork, and that's at 10:30. So if you plan to attend, I think you could sign up. There was a sign-up email that went around, but show up with $15 in cash at 10:30. And then we're looking at an evening at Cafe Momentum in October. Siobhan's trying to get that organized. And then on Sunday, which is the Sunday after Veterans Day, we have a tour of the National Medal of Honors Museum, and sign-up information will be coming out about that. So we've got a lot of things in the next 2 months. Hope to see you there. And the chair of our day is Mr. Kasher.
Thank you for that, Jeff Sheehan. Appreciate that. So in a prior career, I spent 10 years on the trading desk, and I am super excited that we've got Jeff Karcher here from the Texas Stock Exchange. You can read about his bio and his 30 years of experience in the hub. Jeff moved here from Atlanta, so he's relatively new to Dallas, and he said everybody here's been so nice, so no questions for Bill Sleeper, please. So let's please welcome Jeff Karcher. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. And yeah, you're right. Just got here a couple months ago, and I said to them earlier, this is the honest to God truth. This isn't something funny. I've never been colder in my life. Is this not on? Oh. Okay. I have never been colder in my life than moving to Dallas in July. I mean, the air conditioning in this town is nuclear scale. Everywhere you go, it's been amazing. And to Mark's point, too, everybody has just been just tremendously welcoming and very, very friendly. Everywhere my wife and I go, we're just kind of amazed and surprised at how the way it should be interacting with people across every single day. It's been terrific. So we're really excited about being here personally and professionally as well, too. So I spent many years in financial services, doing a variety of things, but the last decade I was at the New York Stock Exchange, albeit in Atlanta, which might sound a little strange, but it's actually owned by Intercontinental Exchange, which is headquartered in Atlanta. So I worked out of headquarters there, and then about a year ago, in fact, a year ago yesterday was my 1-year anniversary of joining the Texas Stock Exchange as we got off the ground. And it's been quite an exciting venture. And I just would ask a quick question. Who has heard about the Texas Stock Exchange starting? That's awesome. I asked that same question somewhere outside of Dallas or outside of Texas. There might be 2 hands. It's really something that's here in town, it's been really kind of amazing, the reception and the desire for it. But what I think it really speaks to exactly why it's here. So typically we will get asked the question, why? You know, why is there what will be a 3rd listings exchange? And then so why in Dallas? And the why in Dallas, I think, is probably best addressed first in that people don't realize we have 200, 300 companies have relocated to Texas over the last 10 years. We have 52 Fortune 500 companies in town. 1 out of 10 public listings in the United States is Texas-based. There's 5,000 private companies in Texas. And it's become a financial services hub specifically to Dallas. Everybody knows Houston's very energy-based, Austin's very technology-based. But Dallas is a very diversified economy, as I'm sure you're aware, but really does have a very strong concentration of financial services employees across a variety of fields. In fact, JP Morgan today has twice as many employees here than they do in New York. Goldman Sachs is moving 5,000 in their new building downtown. Scotiabank just announced their North American headquarters moving to town. You know, Strive's been here, Charles Schwab's moved here. Wells Fargo's got tons. I mean, the list kind of goes on and on and on. So we're really kind of a natural extension of that. And in exchange, if you think about what it is, it's the kind of the assembly of meeting buyers and sellers. So for having us locate and headquarter in Dallas, we're kind of coming together with that large community, be just another component to financial services. And we will have an exchange. The actual trading will be fully electronic, so just 2 computers talking to each other, which is the way most trading is done in the world today. But we will have a building, and it'll be a building Dallas will be very proud of. It'll be downtown, uptown area, somewhere in there. We're not keeping it a secret. We just don't know where it's going to be just yet. That's something going on right now. We hope to have that done by the end of the year. But everything's a moving piece. And right now, nothing is moving because the first step you have to do when building an exchange is file what's called a Form 1, which is a 4,300-page document. If you'd like to read it, it is online. It's posted. Feel free. And the SEC reviews that. They make a determination then to approve or deny our application. We fully anticipate being approved. That should occur hopefully relatively soon because it's a very specific time process. And then once that happens, then we're a real exchange. We finally technically exist, whereas technically today we do not. We're just a pie-in-the-sky dream. So once that happens, things start to move. So the exchange itself starts to get tested, starts to get connected to all the broker-dealers and all the trading firms throughout the world. And We'll probably open trading probably mid-quarter, first quarter of 2026. Then mid-quarter, second quarter or so will be ETPs, which is primarily known as ETFs that you would buy and hold. Those get listed just like a company does. And then corporate listings will take place kind of maybe about this time, perhaps a little bit earlier next summer. And the corporate listing side of the business is what I'm involved with primarily. And what does that mean? So every public company lists on a stock exchange, of which there's only 2. That gets to kind of the why the Texas Stock Exchange versus just the why Dallas. Think to yourselves in the businesses that you're in and the businesses that you know about. Name me a duopoly. I mean, think about it. They don't exist. It was taught to you in Econ 101, Chapter 3, but they don't exist. And the reason they don't exist typically is because there's competition. If they're worth something where there's 2 players, somebody invents a better, cheaper, faster widget, and now you have 3 players, and the industry breaks up. And so having kind of a constant evolution of change and innovation brings competition, and that's typically why you don't have oligopolies, you have multiple players. In the listings business, it is an oligopoly. It is just the New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ in this country, and that's it. So 47 or so hundred public companies only list on one of those 2 exchanges. And as a result of duopolies, they tend to really breed inertia. Just don't change, don't do anything. They got a good gig, don't mess it up. And that's what's kind of happened. And so as a result, on the outside, there's been a great deal of regulatory, the infamous, boil a frog. New rule for a company as to how to operate. And today, public companies, quite often, if they could really make their choice, they would just go private. We don't want to be public. This is a headache. We got to deal with this noise, this headache, this. The costs are pretty extraordinary, depending on a company size and what they're doing. The cost to be public can be anywhere from $5 to $50 million of just, satisfying obligations that are required. We're here to make that change. So that's kind of the why of us and the philosophical angle of what we're doing, is that we are going to bring change to what that relationship is with a public company being public and what they have to do day to day. It's a challenge. It won't be easy. Can't change everything. Because we will, once we get approved, we will be a national securities exchange subject to the rules of the SEC. The SEC runs everything. So we can't change their rules. We can work with them to help give them guidance to change rules, but we're not going to change all. But what we can do is think very creatively. So what we did beginning last year, right when I started, we started looking at some of the issues that are the biggest issues for companies and the costs associated with them. We have a extremely collaborative government down in Austin that we've been working with. In fact, the exchange itself is the governor's idea. He came to Jim Lee, our founder, and asked if we could put this together. And maybe take a step back on that and tell you the story of that. So in 2020, the legislators in New York and New Jersey thought it would be a good idea to dust off a 1981 law they had, which provided a transaction tax. So on every stock trade that would take place, there would be a small tax. Since 1981, there's been a rebate on that where they don't have to pay the tax. It's still calculated, but they don't pay it. They thought it'd be a good idea to take that rebate off, and they could collect $30 billion of tax revenue. Well, that came out. It got public. The New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ both reached out to Governor Abbott at the time and said, hey, if this happens, this is terrible. It's not just bad for their own business, but just bad for everything. Trading will slow down, costs of capital will go up, spreads will widen, it'll be more expensive for everybody and for everything. Could you host our exchanges in Texas? And of course, Governor Abbott, heck yeah, right. We'll open up Monday morning. We got you taken care of. We'll do everything you need. So that kind of got going a little bit, and then legislators wised up a little bit, and they pulled back that proposal, so it didn't happen. And then everybody kind of went back to their sleepy ways and not changing anything. But at that time, it kind of put a light bulb in the governor's head, like, hey, why can't we have an exchange in Texas? And reached out to some folks. And there really is no reason why you couldn't. And in fact, in 1967, somebody actually filed for the Texas Stock Exchange name and to start an exchange, because back in the 60s and even prior to that, there were regional exchanges throughout the country. And a lot of those still exist today. You just don't know them by that name. For example, the New York Stock Exchange moved their New York Stock Exchange Chicago. It's kind of hard to say those with the New York in front of everything. Chicago to Dallas, and now it's called NYSE Texas. That used to be the Midwest Stock Exchange that started in 1883. The National Exchange is another one that they have. They all have different names, and collectively there's 16 of them. NASDAQ has several too. They bought Boston, bought Philadelphia. The NYSE bought Cincinnati. NASDAQ bought the Pacific. It was out in San Francisco. So they were all over the country at the time, but they really just kind of faded away as everything concentrated in the hands of just the big two. So a couple years of research, thinking about it, and then raising money, the Texas Stock Exchange came about. Our partners that we have, our investors, are some of the biggest names you would hear of. BlackRock's the largest investor in the world. Citadel Securities is the largest trading firm in the world. And in fact, 1 in 4 shares traded every day across all markets goes through Citadel's pipes. They're that large a trading firm, 1 in 4. And then Charles Schwab, the largest retail firm in the world. They're all our partners. And why did they invest in us? They saw an opportunity for change. They saw how the listings business, where companies work with the exchanges, had just nothing changed for 50 years. It was always kind of the same. And with all the regulations and rules and costs that have developed, it seemed very ripe to be able to bring some innovation to the marketplace. So that's how we kind of got up and going. And that's what we're looking at doing now. And the first step of that is what I was starting to allude to, is working in Austin. So we sat down, we just kind of had a big whiteboard behind us, like what can we change? What can we affect? And what are the biggest issues for companies? And one thing is called proxy thresholds. So the way a proxy works is if you're a public company, a shareholder can submit a proxy proposal to the company saying, I think you should do this. I think you should report that. And if you can think about it, around the world, a lot of people have a lot of ideas on things. This can be a very onerous, costly, time-consuming process, because in order to submit a proxy under the federal rules, you only had to own $2,000, not have, it's still a rule, have to own $2,000 of stock just at the time of submitting the proposal. That's it. So what ends up happening is companies get inundated with nonsense, the vast majority of them. A lot of them have decent ideas, not bad ideas, but not necessarily something that is necessary to be done. So they spend a great deal of time and effort and money having to deal with them. So in looking at the SEC's rules, the kind of yada, 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 unless conflicts with state law. I'm like, oh, there we go. Let's make a state law. So that was one of the things that got done last year. So now it's law. It's not pie in the sky. It's not wishful thinking. We helped author a law that in order to submit a proxy, you have to own $1 million worth of stock. You have to own it 6 months prior, and you have to own it through proxy season, and you have to bring 67% of the shareholders of a company supporting that process. As a result, overnight, boom, all the noise went away. Commotion, and I tell companies as I meet with them, if you get a proxy proposal now, it's probably a pretty good idea. And that's good. So it still allows for the process to occur, for change, for making sure companies kind of pay attention. But at the same time, it takes away the noise, takes away the cost. Another rule that was done is called the business judgment rule, and that is very complex legal stuff, and I failed business law 1, but I've learned enough about it to know that business judgment is simply if you're an officer of a company and you use your business judgment in making a decision for that company, you can't be sued for it. Whereas what happens now, here's a good example. Dick's Sporting Goods, about 2 months ago, got sued by a shareholder. I don't know how much stock they own, but it could have been 5 shares. That's all you kind of need to do. Sued them for misappropriation of inventory, miscommunication of their earnings. They had bad earnings, stock went down 25%, and they got sued. Now, it wasn't a good decision, wasn't the right decision. They had too much inventory. However, The management team, in their business judgment, thought they were going to sell more tennis rackets. So they inventoried more tennis rackets. It didn't come through. Not a good thing, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't with willful intent, intent to deceive, illegal behavior, but yet they got sued. So now they're going to spend millions of dollars just because something went awry because of an armchair quarterback that came in after the fact and said, hey, that was bad and you were wrong. That is an extremely costly proposition for companies nationwide. In Texas today now, once you're listed on a new exchange, you don't have that anymore. So these are two very, very significant changes for companies that we put together, and we don't even, as I say, technically exist yet. So that's kind of the way we're looking at putting our business together and helping companies just be better public companies. Our kind of the general core of what we want to do is we want to make them a better public company that has to pay less to be public. And combine the two, that's a very very valuable component for a company to think about. The exchange itself, I said, it's going to be physical, it's going to be downtown. It's going to be something very interfacing with the public. It'll be something you'll walk by, you'll see, be able to look into. It'll be done in consortium with the Texas Business Museum is going to be opened up down there, so we'll be partners with them. So that will be a tourist attraction in and of itself down there. And then my last statement before taking questions, because I know everybody's probably got questions, is we will have a bell. However, we're not going to just have a bell where you just push the button, confetti comes out, or you're clapping. We're not going to do that. But we need to figure out what it's going to be. So we're open for ideas and suggestions. The dinner bell, the dinner triangle, loud has been brought up. A cowbell, of course. But the one that's kind of gaining a lot of traction, and when it first came up, Jim, our CEO, was like, no, we can't do that, is a cannon. Obviously no projectiles in the cannon at the open and the close. But obviously we want to do something different. We want to do something very fitting to Texas. And we're open for ideas on that. I can go on and on, but I know I don't want to go on and on. I'd rather just address questions that people may have. So, sir.
Let me take the mic around so everybody can hear you.
Yeah, no.
So you'll have the same companies that are on the New York Stock Exchange and the American Stock Exchange. So if you do, what's the advantage of trading through the Texas Real Estate Commission or New York or American?
Yeah, so in order to get the legal advantages, that a couple of which I just described, there's a few others too, you have to be listed, well, one, you have to either be headquartered in the state of Texas or incorporated in the state of Texas. That's a key component. So if someone's in North Carolina, would like to list here, all they have to do is just incorporate here. They don't have to move a body, a person, headquarters, anything like that. Okay? So that, and be listed on a national securities exchange headquartered in Texas. So the way we wrote it was us. No sooner did we write it and it started to get discussed and passed in Austin, that's when the NYSE moved their Chicago exchange down to Dallas so that they could take advantage of that same rule. So as an investor, you don't ever call us. And as an investor, you don't ever actually call an exchange. The exchange just acts as the medium for the trade to take place. But even within that, the way trading has become so bifurcated and so electronic, most trades today don't ever occur on an exchange itself, which sounds strange. But 51% of all trades occur off exchange in what's known as either dark pools, if you're an institution, a big money manager, or if you have an account at E-Trade or Charles Schwab or somebody like that, they don't actually trade it for you. Once it touches their system, it instantly goes to what's called a wholesaler, which Citadel is the largest wholesaler. So they buy that business. So they pay Charles Schwab, they pay TD Ameritrade, they pay E-Trade, et cetera, for the business. So they actually do the executing of the trade itself. And then those trades never see the light of day. So it's to say you want to buy 100 shares of Exxon, I want to sell 100 shares of Exxon, we both put it in E-Trade, It crosses and it never sees the market. It gets reported to the market later, and as a result, 51% of all trades are that kind of thing. So they're not on exchanges. So it is for an individual investor, us being around, it's going to be more of a very indirect benefit. And an indirect benefit in that the company you're buying, they have a lower cost of being public. It's better for your earnings and value. The managements are able to more freely operate and take risks and make decisions without being challenged. And then there's a whole slew of other cost-related items that would work to their advantage that would inherently benefit each shareholder, theoretically. But in terms of you making a trade, buying or selling, something like that, we'll just be just another player in the ecosystem.
I'm assuming, obviously, you've done your studies on to future IPOs and companies looking to be listed.
Yes.
And also those that maybe wanted to be delisted from other exchanges to come to your exchange. I mean, what is the breadth of that as you've seen? Because like speaking to the proxy issue, the rules we have here in Texas, I mean, that's just a nightmare. But can you speak to the market that you see as far as listing companies and delisted companies coming here?
Yep. It's both. I mean, it's definitely both. And I will say, I've been very, very surprised at the reception by the private company community so far. I don't know the exact number, but there's been many companies that we've talked to said, we want to be the first IPO on the Texas Stock Exchange. Like, coming to us, wanting to do it. I would have thought that would come a little bit later. You know, let us get up and running, the trading's working, the ETFs are listed, they're working fine. Companies transfer over and they're listed and it's fine before an IPO would test the system. It's quite a few, and the reception has been very, very good. But it'll be both. And when you say delisting, that kind of sparks something in my mind to be able to say. So there are 1,300 companies, actually I'm sorry, 1,600 companies that are public today that would not qualify to list on our exchange. And the reason that is they don't have certain characteristics. There's very high listing standards that we have. Technically, our listing standards will be higher than the NYSE and NASDAQ's. So it's not going to be an exchange where it's just a bunch of real small companies that have no controls, no governance on them whatsoever. It's just the opposite. But the companies that are listed today won't qualify. They're trading at 64 cents. They're $8 million market cap companies, something along those lines, but NASDAQ won't kick them off. They're almost all on NASDAQ. And NASDAQ won't kick them off. Well, here's the business of the exchange. It's $50,000 minimum, and it goes up to $500,000 depending on how big a company you are to list on an exchange. So let's assume it's $50,000 times 1,300 every year with zero costs associated with it. That's why NASDAQ won't kick them off. They keep giving them extensions. They tell them it's okay. Hey, do a reverse stock split. That'll get your price up a little bit, et cetera. Yeah, it's just part of being a duopoly and having no challenge, no one kind of calling people out on it.
Will there be a NASDAQ component to the Texas Stock Exchange? And what will this mean for startup in terms of regulatory costs, burden for technology companies that want to file an IPO in the Texas Stock Exchange?
Yeah. When you say a NASDAQ component to it, what do you mean by?
Is there going to be a NASDAQ? Is there going to be a NASDAQ market, or like the New York Stock Exchange, where you have technology companies?
It'll be all companies. Yeah, it'll be all part of it. So. Oftentimes when someone says a NASDAQ component, NASDAQ is an entirely electronic exchange. It's nothing but computers, computer to computer. The NYSE is a hybrid. They have a lot of computers, and most of what they do is computer to computer, but they do still have people on the trading floor, not near as many as they used to. And the actual point of sale has to go through that person. It's a real person. We won't have that. We will be a fully electronic exchange. Because the way the technology rules have changed and developed over the last 20 years, trading has become so fragmented. It's all over the place. The value of having that person on the floor and what they can do really has shrunk to nothing. So the entire market really is kind of, I would say, simply speaking, kind of moved towards that NASDAQ model, which is also kind of interesting too, because NASDAQ bought a company years ago called Instinet, that's the core of their matching engine that trades. Instinet bought a company called Island before that, which was the very first electronic exchange. Well, 3 of the people that founded Island are the ones that joined us, and they're the ones that built our trading engine. There's only like 7 or 8 people in the world that know how to do this, and we got 3 of them. So we designed our entire exchange from scratch, from the beginning, and had it completely built in 2.5 months. And it's operating faster than both exchanges today because Dell gave us their fastest servers they've ever made. Originally, we're the only company to have them. So the hardware is the world's fastest hardware. The software is designed by the people that know their stuff. So the exchange works very, very well. So that will be very NASDAQ-esque, if you will. And then in terms of companies, it's going to be everything. There will be technology companies, there'll be energy companies, there'll be financial services companies. It'll be a variety of companies, and that's one thing. You know, you all here in Texas, you probably understand it, but people outside think Texas oil and gas. That's it. That's the whole economy. And the fact of the matter is no sector in Texas takes more than 9% of the GDP in the state, which, by the way, in the next few months will surpass France. It'll be the 7th largest economy in the world.
Jeff, you started talking about this, so I'm going to expand on this further. The word innovation. So you talked about the technology platforms. You're faster, smarter, cheaper, perhaps, than the other exchanges. If you think about innovation, front office, back office, you think about channels, retail, commercial. If you guys could do what you want to do, regulation aside, and what would be the chief innovation that you want to drive to market that would truly be understood by all and used by all? And I'm going to throw out a bone in this context, cryptocurrency. See if that's a part of that discussion. So what's the biggest innovation driver you're trying to bring forward?
Okay. We have one. I can't speak to it because it is not filed yet with the SEC, and we're still awaiting the SEC's approval. So the last thing you ever want to do is when you're awaiting the SEC approval is to say something you haven't put in front of them. Okay? And hopefully that will be very soon. What I would summarize that as saying, and there will be several components to it, but there'll be one fairly significant component to it. A company a year from now, whether they're listed on the NYSE or on NASDAQ or with us, based on what we will be doing, they will have a different relationship and experience with their exchange, and it will be better, and it will be lower cost than what it is today because of what we're doing. That will apply to everybody across the board. So there's quite a bit of innovation for one. Crypto is a little bit different, but it does go along a little bit of what innovation will come eventually, but not at the beginning. And that's what's called tokenization. So what will end up happening in time, and it's already starting to happen, so what happens now when you buy and sell a share, whether you're an individual or you're Fidelity, the biggest mutual fund there is, your trade executes, and then that paper, it's not paper, it's just an electronic register, goes to a place called DTC. It's the Depository Trust Company. So think of it as an escrow agent that actually owns and holds across everywhere. And the reason you have that clearinghouse is that I need to make sure David delivers on what he sold me. David needs to make sure that I deliver the cash that I bought from him. And so it acts as that. Tokenization can make that all digital. So that is, it is a blockchain thing, which I always, when I hear that, I'm like, oh God, no, it's not going to be Bitcoin in the stock market. It's not, it's totally different, but eventually that will come to pass. We have several outside experts that are literally the leaders in that field. I was just in DC the last 2 days, and I was on a panel yesterday, and that was the talk. I was talking about the innovation of the actual listing relationship. They're talking about the innovation on the trading side of it, the settlement side of it, and tokenization's coming. And that'll make it a lot easier for companies. That's another big cost. So the proxy threshold, the thing I mentioned earlier, so delivering all those proxies, so every single shareholder has a right to the proxy. So the distribution costs for that are extraordinary, particularly if you're well, here's an example. So Delta Airlines, they were a former client of mine. Their proxy distribution costs were like 200-some thousand or so one year. The next year they got a bill for $3.3 million out of the blue. And the reason why was Robinhood just started, and they had a program. If you open up, you refer, and David opens an account because of what I said, I get a free share of stock. And the free share of stock they were giving out was Delta Airlines because it was post-COVID and everybody was flying and the stock was taking off. Well, Delta wasn't asking for them to give out free shares so that they now had like 700,000 shareholders instead of 40,000 shareholders. Tokenization gets rid of that. You don't have to do that anymore. So that will be another very, very big innovation. But that's not yet. That won't be just us. We'll be part of that. That'll be more system-wide.
Okay. I don't know anything about AI, but I bet it's going to affect you
That makes
greatly.
two of us.
But I bet it's going to affect you. I bet it will affect your business.
Not really.
Really?
Actually, no, because for us, it's the technology itself that's been developed. That's I was saying that those designers, that core, that matching engine, and the actual exchange, the trade itself. I mean, someone could quantify there's AI in it, but it's really not. It's just the electronic software and the coding that goes together for it. We do have a subsidiary business that is almost entirely AI, but it's not. It's owned under the Texas Exchange umbrella, but completely separate. Chinese wall between us, and they're going to be using AI to work on trading flow, and particularly retail trading flow. It was the former head of trading from Charles Schwab joined us, and he's starting that business. And that's taking AI and all the reporting of data. So every single trade that takes place, in fact, every single bid or offer of a stock that takes place, it's billions and billions and billions and billions every day. I mean, it's a lot. All of that gets recorded. So this technology will take all of that and provide intelligence from that reporting to companies to make sure that the brokers that are trading are behaving like they're supposed to do and reporting like they're supposed to do. Everything is delivered properly. If there's anything nefarious trading-wise, it'll be a lot easier to pick up because of the identification in that business. So that's going to be almost entirely AI, but completely separate from us.
Hey, Jeff.
Yep.
As the Texas Stock Exchange starts to take off, and the New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ starts to see this, and they start to get nervous, and they say, we've got to change our ways or we're in big trouble. And they start talking to the New York State Legislature. Is there the fear that you guys will lose your value proposition because they will match what you are doing? You talk about the proxy situation, and they go to the New York Legislature and they change the rule to match what Texas did. And vice versa, start matching the things, the innovations that you all do. Mm-hmm. Is there the fear that you will lose your value proposition, or is there a way that you will continue to have a value proposition over them that they can't match?
Very good question. The answer really is the exact opposite. New York and New Jersey are really about to really screw up, quite honestly, soon. The whole reason why the exchange started, the governor's idea was that transaction tax I mentioned. They're actually talking about bringing it back now. And Mamdani, who's running for mayor, is adamant that they're going to do it. If they do it, it's going to be the opposite. New York will atrophy very quickly. And where's it going to go? It'll come here. And they're already here. I mean, the NYSE is already here. They would have to just change some things, but their business model is different. And you know, I don't know if I'd say they're nervous, but we've definitely woken them up, for sure. The day after I resigned, I was getting an Amazon package at the door. I knocked on the wood, and I got served. I got sued very aggressively because they knew I knew how to make sausage. And from that beginning, they've been very, very aggressive and very assertive in making a lot of changes. They moved the exchange down here. They took 23,000 square feet in Old Parkland for some office space there. They're spending millions of dollars trying to defend it. They're recruiting dual listings right now, quite a few companies. There's no value to that listing. Nothing kind of comes with that. They're doing it just for kind of the pride of Texas, which is great and good. But all that's really doing is two things. One, it's taking out the potential negative that I would have. So let's just say I go back to Coca-Cola that I know the folks real well and say, hey, I want you to leave New York listing, come over here. And I'll be like, Jeff, Dallas, Texas? No, we're not doing that. It's New York. You know it's New York. It's always New York. It's always been New York. It'll always be New York. Well, now they've just taken that whole argument off the table because they've already moved here. So they more or less have told their own clients, yes, it is okay for you to go from New York to Texas. There's no defense for that any longer. So that's a big part of it. But they will be very aggressive competitors, as will NASDAQ. that they will. And competition's good. It just makes everybody better. Iron sharpens iron.
So to kind of piggyback on that, the dual listing thing, I like ETFs, I like sector ETFs. I'm a retired financial planner and I dabble with my Social Security income. So for me, it's like a card game. But when I buy ETFs, some of the stocks, let's say it's a small cap, Schwab, some of them are listed on NYSE, some of them are listed on NASDAQ. Should I assume two things? A, most of these new listings will be small caps. Is that a safe assumption, or do you guys see yourself recruiting AT&T and American Airlines and TI in the next year or two?
It'll be all over. Actually, I had a call on Monday with one of the biggest companies in the country who's very, very interested. Partly because the uniqueness of what we're doing will add significant value. The bigger the company is, the more value it can derive. That's partly because what I was talking about, when costs come out of the system, you're a bigger company, you just have more costs. You know, it could be $45 million to be a public company if you're a very large company. You know, if you could have that, that's a lot of money.
Right.
So it'll be both.
So my next question is, let's say I buy a small cap iShares ETF, or whoever it is, I mean, should I assume going forward there'll be Texas Stock Exchange listed companies if they qualify for whatever the minimum is, along with the NASDAQs and NYSE listed companies?
Yep, they'll all be. Yep.
Okay.
There won't be any kind of an exclusionary situation for being listed on one exchange versus the other, just like there isn't now. And same thing like with tickers. Tickers can go to any exchange. There's no limitations on that.
Okay. I have one more quick question. You mentioned duopoly, and then we talked about Citadel being 25% of the business in that end of the business, which is the unseen, unknown, mysterious stuff that writers write about and convince consumers that there is no such thing as a free trade, because we all know there's nothing done for free. My question is since you guys are taking a clean slate and you've got a chance to kind of make some changes that are for the better, hopefully for the investor, not just for the listing company, is there any thought given to a consortium of people coming together and finding someone to compete with the Citadels and whoever else dominates that end of that market?
Not really, but I'll give you a little clarity on that. So yes, it's 1 in 4 shares. However, that side of the business, and there's when something gets traded, it's traded over 16 exchanges and 200 alternative venues. That many different places, where it used to be just the New York Stock Exchange way back, right? So it's all over the place. So there is tons of competition already. Citadel just happens to be the largest at it to that size. Pardon? Jane Street, Susquehanna, Hudson River would be next. They're pretty sizable as well. Yep. Yeah, I don't know those numbers offhand to quote you for certain, but they're sizable, and they're billions and billions of dollars of revenue, each one of them, that they would have. The big distinction, and it actually can benefit the individual, is the rules are different for them versus exchanges. Exchanges are only allowed to trade in a 1 penny increment. You know, you can only bid and offer just 1 penny. That's the lowest you can go. All those trading firms, they get the benefit of legislation. They can trade in half, or sub-penny increments. So what they do, and the reason Dave and I's trade just never saw the light of day, he got the good price, I got the good price. We both did. How can you do that? Because they do it, price it in the middle. And then they take like a half a cent on each side. You do that billions of times a day, it becomes a pretty good business. So the individual investor wins, you got a half penny better. Both sides did, and they made money. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Jeff. We appreciate the talk.
Thank you.
We're going to place a book in your honor as a way of saying thank you for speaking here today. It'll be placed in the Jack Lowe Senior Elementary School. Thank you for your time. We appreciate you.
And now for the 4-way test. Of the things we think, say, and do, first, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? Fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned?